Hi, my name is Alman Angel. Thanks very much for tuning in for another episode of APTV. Today I got Viktor Vagner Cromb, the CEO of Kookai. Viktor works with his mom, his dad, and his sister running the fashion powerhouse, being Kookai, here in Australia with close to 50 stores. We're here in your CBD store, which has just been expanded.
Yep.
And Viktor's going to talk to us about what it's like running a fashion retailer here in Australia and what this landscape is looking like and where it's headed towards. So thanks very much. I really do appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Kookai manufactures their garments in Fiji. How did that come to happen?
Well, my father's background is Fijian. He's half Scottish and he's half Fijian. His mother was Fijian. We used to employ a lot of Fijian women in Australia, and I think there came a point where it made more sense to move the manufacturing back home for Rob. And it was really important for us that we, give opportunities and jobs to people in Fiji. That was the most important thing for him. And, while we're paying, people not just a minimum wage, but we're paying them a living wage, giving opportunities to those that wouldn't have necessarily have had it. And while it's not necessarily easy to manufacture in Fiji, it definitely comes with its own sort of difficulties and their sort of cultural type things. The most important thing for us is working with family and it's an extension of some of our foundation work there. We do some foundation work in some really poor provinces, and there's opportunities to get people involved with the work that we do there.
You work for your dad?
Yes.
And your mom?
Yes.
And your sister?
Yeah.
What's it like working with your entire family? What are some of the benefits and challenges?
If there's challenges, I haven't experienced them yet, and maybe I'm just one of the lucky ones. But for me, the benefits are we're a family business and we're an extremely close family, and it's just so important to us that we're close, and we don't do it because we have to. We do it because that's what we want. The opportunity to become involved in the business was presented to me a few years ago when I was 21. I'm 28 now. And to be involved with your family and be working alongside the people that you love and care for the most is extremely rewarding. And I think, it helps having a bit of skin in the game. You've got, a added sort of benefit. You're working, obviously for yourself and, your salary and everything else. But, the added benefit is if you win, they win. If they win, you win, and vice versa. But, seeing people in COVID also, go back home to their families and everything that they hadn't seen for extended periods. And I get to see my family every day. I'm sure there's certainly periods where I annoy my sister. That's got to be the big one. But for me, it's a great gift to be able to see and work with your family every day.
Going back to retail, at what point did you guys realize that Kookai is an anchor fashion tenant in that category here in Australia, and landlords were kind of securing you first and then leasing off the back of you?
It's interesting, and I think it was happening a little bit just as I got involved in the business a few years ago, but it's once you're not looking for stores with the same tenacity that you used to. It's that people are starting to put offers in front of you. It's on the back of 30 years of the hard work of the family, and certainly my mother and my father predominantly. But they've broken their backs to be able to get the business to that point, about where they're approached, about where Kookai is a very aspirational business. We want them here. And that we have, we're in a sort of position to sort of dictate where we want and who we want to be sort of seen around with. That's probably the turning point for us.
Where's fashion heading? There's a lot of trends now about athleisure, plus size fashion. In your opinion, or Kookai's opinion, or house view, where is fashion heading the next 2 years?
I think particularly for Australia is so, and it's easy to get, a little bit distracted with Melbourne and Sydney exclusively rather than the rest of Australia, but there's such a focus on healthy lifestyle in Australia that I think Australia just naturally gravitated towards athleisure and sort of blurring the line between sport and fashion, and that happening over the course. I mean, COVID, I think, just sped that up.
Yeah.
But, I think that's definitely one aspect of it, and I think we'll certainly have another go at it and try and get it as right as possible. But
was the athleisure an outcome of COVID?
It was, yeah. I think, we looked around and, what was everybody wearing? And I mean, certainly what I was wearing activewear every day. And I don't know about yourself. I know you're a runner, so that's probably you. But for us,
I was mostly wearing We Heart Retail t-shirts.
Yeah. Right, that, and me too. At some point, I'll get there. But I think for us, it was about just trying to understand what the market wanted, and the market was wearing activewear, and it was our customer. And we just tried to listen to the demand.
And where is fashion headed towards this next 2 years?
Goodness, Australia's always been, very fast changing. And, if I can speak strictly to the aesthetic of fashion, I think, athleisure's certainly cemented its place. And you're looking at places like Arge now, and they're opening up Arge Athletica. And, hats off to them for getting their activewear to that point. I think that's extremely admirable. I think that's one aspect of it. I think retailers are sort of trying to explore on what's next. You've got people like Country Road that have tried a little bit of everything, and they have the opportunity to kind of narrow in on what works. They do homewares, they do this. And I certainly think, retailers like us, will, start to dabble in those little things and just see if there's an appetite like that for the customer. But I don't know if, I think rather than trying to predict, I think it's more about, trying these MVPs or these minimum viable products in the market, seeing what works, and then sort of growing and expanding it if the customer has an appetite for it. But if not, just try and, pivot and, quickly to be able to kind of, try something new and give them what they want in another sort of area.
Everyone is saying how bricks and mortar and retail stores is over, CBDs are dead, yet we're sitting in your Kookai CBD store, which is just doubled in size. Yeah. So can you explain why you guys don't agree with that market voice? Also, where are stores going? What will your stores look like in 2 to 3 years? What are your newer fit outs doing?
I think brick and mortar is just still so important to us, and there's a million different reasons why. And I got asked this question recently, and it's the physical embodiment of your brand. I mean, in one aspect, it's a 400-meter, billboard. But on the other side, there's stores that are strictly online experiences, and that's great. And I think a lot of those businesses has been really successful, and hats off to them. But having physical stores across the country, physical billboards across the country, and then training your staff to be embedded in the values and the principles of your brand, and then the clothes being the physical embodiment of that. That's what you're selling. You're not just selling clothes. And I think our business hopefully isn't as simple as that. You're selling a family business, you're selling a culture, you're selling a this, you're selling a that, and you want the customer to kind of come in and feel like they're really a part of that, and you can best do that by stores.
And online doesn't do it the same way.
And I think that's the opportunity for online, and I think a lot of people are trying to figure out how to do it by saying, this is the store, this is the experience, and you feel within something, as opposed to it's still on a screen. And I think a lot of people are starting to flirt with the idea of, well, it's a metaverse, it's in you're in the store, you're doing all this. And I think that's, I have no idea how people are going to approach that, certainly. But, online's opportunity is blurring the line between, and probably actually the opportunity for both is blurring the line between online and the stores. I think Nike's always a really interesting one to look at, and they seem to do that experience really well. But, having things like click and collect and trying to bring customers back into the store to again, try and sell them the story is really important to us. And maybe using online as a gateway to it is the right sort of way. But if you can't tell your story well enough online, and if it's still a long way from kind of getting to that point, it's probably doing what you can, just kind of say, well, look, online, that's an opportunity for you to get access to the product. But, if it's an opportunity to drive a customer in store and get the best possible experience that your business can provide, then that's probably the most important thing of where we're at right now.
And CBDs?
CBDs, I mean, we've been a heavily CBD-based business for the last few years, and it's not to say that we're moving away from that. I think it's a bit of a balance, and it should be. The thing that COVID taught us was that we didn't have enough exposure to regional sort of areas, and they were sort of the areas that weren't locked down, but there was a huge demand for it over those periods because people weren't travelling. They were really stuck within their areas. And so it's trying to make sure that you have exposure everywhere. In terms of CBDs, that's, it's your biggest billboard, it's your biggest representation of the brand. And I don't think we'll ever really move away from CBDs. I think now we're starting to see, and it's probably a good time for this interview, now we're starting to see people return back to the CBDs. I think people are starting to finally get excited about coming into work again. And I think while I'm naturally a little bit more introverted, I think that social experience for work and kind of coming in and, dressing up or whatever sort of else to come into the office and get that one-to-one experience with your staff is critically important. I think people are starting to enjoy that again. And I think certainly from Melbourne's perspective, the sales are showing that. And in Sydney, the sales are showing that as well, which has been really promising for us.
The last shop you leased, what was it that got you engaged and excited and over the line? And the leasing agent or the landlord, what role did they play and what role did you expect them or want them to play?
I think when it comes to us and landlords and leasing agents, we're a family business, and what's the most valued thing for us is, establishing a relationship. These are good people that you ideally want to work for, upwards of, 10 years. And, you might sign like these 2, 3, 5, 7-year leases or whatever it sort of looks like. But, it's not just about, a set and forget, like here's the lease, it's all signed, see you later. It's very much about, we're working as a partnership to sort of make the store as good as it can be for us and for you. And what we're looking for is obviously at the top of the list is a good deal. And I think, I'm not going to, sort of dodge that. But most importantly, no, I don't think we're going to work with people that are particularly difficult or anything like that either. And on the same side, it's a two-way street. People don't want to work with us if we're going to be particularly difficult either. It's a relationship first and foremost for us. So that's sort of, probably more what we're looking for. We're not a huge, we don't have a huge store network. We've got 45, 44 stores. And we're just, Kookai's not going to be this, have 150 stores and there's going to be one here and there's going to be one over there as well. That's just not us. We're not going to, oversaturate the market by having our brand absolutely everywhere. We're still a boutique. So, we're fine with, having a slow rollout of stores and making sure that we do everything right rather than just batch and blast and open up tons. And the deals might not necessarily work for either party. I mean, it's got to work for everybody.
Looking at a retail property, what do you expect and depend on from the landlord and the agent to help make that decision? Or is that decision already made before you engage with the owners?
I think so rarely now do people approach us with a opportunity that we're not already a little bit aware of. So we already, if they approach us with, opportunity in like, let's say, Newcastle or whatever, that we're already a little bit aware of it. The thing for us is transparency and about from the get-go. So it's, what's the store going to be looking like? This is about what you're going to pay. And it's just trying to get those, approximate commercials just out of the way really early. Once we've kind of got that out of the way, we're happy to jump on a plane and go and look at the site and everything and start establishing that relationship if it hasn't already been there. But it's just trying to get an idea of that really quickly, because I'm not about to, I'm in the business of, sort of being aware of my costs, but I'm not about to just jump on a plane willy-nilly to go and look at a site if it's not going to work for either of us. So just having that info immediately is just critically important, and it probably helps make faster decisions.